When former Vice President Dick Cheney left the White House, his approval rating was at 13%. The Iraq War and lies about weapons of mass destruction accounted for most of that. At this point, his daughter's approval rating is not much better. When Liz Cheney was removed as conference chair, a poll revealed 8 in 10 Republicans agreed with that move earlier this year. The funny thing is, Liz Cheney's politics are actually about the same as Trump's. Cheney voted with Trump 93% of the time during his 4 years in office. Trump's policies were beloved by most conservatives, but his anti-establishment methods are what drove away the so-called rhinos, and they won't be missed. The truth is, Washington has long been an inside game, and Trump threatened all of that with his intense desire to peel back the curtain and show the country how exactly the sausage is made. Wasn't it just wild to watch just how fast Liz Cheney teamed up with Democrats right after January 6th? That moment tells you so much about how all of this really works. You realize most of Washington is really on the same team. It doesn't matter if there's an R or a D after their names. In reality, they're mostly all in cahoots. They are the government. And in a way, it's not really Republicans versus Democrats, it's government versus the people. This week, Liz Cheney, who will likely be out of a job in about a year, decided to let us know that her father, the great warmonger Dick Cheney, is not pleased.
Deeply troubled about where the country is, and just a tremendous source of advice and guidance and wisdom for me.
And frankly, that is good news, to be honest. The politics represented by Dick Cheney are on life support. Establishment really only exists now in the Democrat Party in this country. The Democrats are holding on tight to traditional old guard establishment politics. Joe Biden is your president. Nancy Pelosi is the speaker. Chuck Schumer leads the Senate. These people represent a Washington that works for itself long before it considers what you actually need. With Trump, everything got really weird. The country had a leader that had spent his entire life working in the private sector, and that's a big problem for the establishment in Washington. He hadn't earned the right to be there. He wasn't yet owned by K Street. Everybody got really nervous. Donald Trump and the populism he brought were a huge threat to not just Democrats, but to many Republicans as well. Most Republicans, to be honest. For instance, American wars have long been a huge business, just ask Dick Cheney. Suddenly, we had a president that wanted to end our foreign wars and start no new ones. A lot of lobbyists had a panic attack. After all, U.S. taxpayers spent nearly $2 trillion in war-related costs on Dick Cheney's Iraq War alone. That's about $8,000 per U.S. taxpayer. Politics in Washington has always been a lot like professional sports in a way. The fans are in the stands beating each other up over a game played by millionaires who compete with each other and then go on vacation together during the offseason. For years, that was the Republicans and Democrats. While the populists screamed and argued, the D.C. insiders went to dinner together. They had a little inside game. They're the elite, working the system and retiring very rich. More than half of those in Congress are millionaires. The median net worth of members of Congress who filed disclosures last year is just over $1 million. Meanwhile, for the typical American family, the net worth $121,000. Kind of makes you think about Nancy Pelosi with her ice cream, doesn't it? All smiles. You think she really cares who's in power? Does she really care? Does it really matter? Of course it doesn't matter. It just can't be an outsider. Nobody can screw up their little game. It's got to be a Democrat or a Republican. Both parties run the show together and they rig the game to keep outsiders out. Each party gets to decide how their nominees are even picked. Superdelegates, do you know this? Invented by the Democrat Party in the 1980s as a reaction to a chaotic convention where Ted Kennedy challenged the incumbent sitting president, Jimmy Carter, of course, against the party's wishes. It was very divisive for the party, but Kennedy knew Carter sucked. Carter got crushed by Ronald Reagan, only winning a handful of states. In response, Democrats formed a commission to rewrite the rules, giving the party more power by creating superdelegates, made up of mostly party officials, able to vote for whoever they want. Your vote didn't really matter as much. Even if it goes against what the people they represent want, this can happen. Republicans don't really have superdelegates, but they also change the rules themselves. Check this out. Quote, a dramatic little-known GOP rule change takes choice of presidential candidate away from rank-and-file Republicans and hands it to the party elite, the power right where they want it. In 2012, Republicans made it so Libertarian Ron Paul lost the ability to challenge Mitt Romney. The GOP wishes they could have done to Trump what Democrats did to Bernie Sanders in 2016. Trump knew he had to commandeer the Republican Party to have a prayer, and he did that somehow. After all, the last time a third-party candidate appeared in a presidential debate was Ross Perot in 1992. It's a long time ago. The Presidential Debate Commission is a bipartisan group of establishment types who exist to maintain the status quo. In 2000, the CBD implemented new rules for inclusion in the debates, requiring a candidate to stand at 15% in national polls to qualify. That is meant to make it nearly impossible for outsiders, third-party candidates, people that are agents of change, to have a chance and a forum to change minds and get noticed. They don't want that. They love a two-party system in Washington. You want to get to the top, you got to go through us, and we have it all figured out. Trump had to play by all these rules to get into Washington and make some much-needed changes. Somehow he did that. We still don't really know how, and the Republican Party will never be the same. As for Democrats, they've held off that change by, of course, cheating Bernie Sanders out of his shot at the White House in 2016. For Republicans, the new party is the future, and it's in the proof. It's in the ratings. At Newsmax, we carry the former president's rallies. He's not even in office, and when we do, they're a massive hit. They typically draw in more than 1 million viewers, winning in all demos. We wallop Fox, CNN, MSNBC, Fox Business, CNBC. We beat everybody when we hold a Trump rally. Trump is still very much the head of this party, even though he's not in office. Earlier this week, Mike Carey won a special election in Ohio with his endorsement. A January study from Northeastern University found 45% of Republican respondents say they would support a candidate who Trump endorsed, no matter who that person is. Without even looking at them, you got half the party going for whoever you like. It's a lot of power. It's a tough break for people like Adam Kinzinger and the other rhinos on a suicide mission to try and wrangle the Republican Party back to what it once was, back to being just as feckless as the Democrats still are.
I don't know what that looks like. All I know is I can rest with real peace knowing that I'm going to fight as hard as I can to get a normal functioning Republican Party.
Now, what's going to happen is you're going to lose your job. Things have changed so fast since the arrival of Donald Trump. Mitt Romney was once the head of this party. Think about that. Mitt Romney was the guy. He was the candidate. And look at him now.
What do you think about President Biden's first 100 days? Now, you know me as a person who...
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.